Well, start with Adrian. We'll just go down, and if you'd like to introduce yourself and give your tip for App Store success.
Okay. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, this is on. This is working. Good. I work for App Annie in London, and I think my big tip for App Store success is use data and metrics, but also use your brain. And so people tend to either go one way or another and over-rely on incremental improvement using tracking, conversion tracking, using App Store data. I think you absolutely need both. You need to know what's going on out there, what's going on in your app, but you also need to think of new ideas, keep your users excited, keep it fun, and think about what you're doing.
Right. Hi. Good tip. Should I introduce also the company? Or?
Yeah.
So my name is OURIEL. I'm the CEO of APPSFIRE, which is an app discovery and marketing company. So we are helping on one side users finding applications. And if you want to have a taste of what app discovery should look like, you just download the app, which has been downloaded 12 million times, and which is very highly rated, and you'll have a clue of why people like it. And on the other side, we're working with developers to build sustainable growth beyond the dream of reaching the charts, growth that help them, stand over time. And we also provide developers a lot of free tools that many times are paid on the market, but that we're giving away for free, that can help them keep their users stick into their app and engage into their app. So you can check it out on appspfire.com. My tip is that, actually that's so difficult. I'm going to assume first that your app is good, because if the app is not good, and we can talk about what is a good app, and could be hours for that, but if your app is not good, don't do marketing. Don't just even bother. It won't work. You cannot sell crap to users. It doesn't work anymore. It used to work, but it doesn't work anymore. Assuming your app is good, my tip is that marketing is not moment effort. It's an ongoing effort. You have the same amount of time a developer puts into developing a great app or a great game, you should put an equal amount of effort, obsessively thinking about how we can market this app. And this moment does not start when the app is ready. Marketing an app starts way before the app is ready. I'm talking not only about how you're going to present your app and how you're going to introduce it to the market. For example, by building a trailer, like a little bit of movie, and some apps do that very well. I'm referring also on how you're going to build the marketing identity of your app and all the tools that are going to help you build the relation with the users into the app. So it's really at the code level. And many times what we see, we're working with hundreds of developers, is that when they start to talk to people like us and others, and there is a lot of people in the market, it's already too late. They haven't made that effort, and they're arriving on the market with an app that is not ready to be marketed because they haven't started to think about marketing early enough in the process. And then once they start to market it, they obviously invest time in that process. But when it's over, it's not over. As you just said, measuring, iterating, and doing that on a constant basis, being obsessed about improving all the time, is another very important thing. So it cannot just be, there's not just one tip about doing marketing right. It has to be a permanent, ongoing, obsessive effort from the build level to the iteration level.
Thanks, OURIEL.
Yeah, hi. I'm Kaya Tanner, so I'm CEO and co-founder of APPLIFT. APPLIFT is a mobile games marketing platform. So what we do is we market on the one hand from advertisers that are mobile game publishers. We market their games and do user acquisition for them. And on the other hand, we monetize media partners' traffic through promoting mobile games in their apps, for example. Yeah. So our company, we are 50 people now and based, headquartered in Berlin, with an office in San Francisco and in Seoul and a presence in Paris. And yeah, so what's my tip for marketing apps and mastering this challenge? So I think first of all, it's very important to understand the product itself. So the first step should start with really analyzing and soft launching in a market, for example, to really get the KPIs right. Is my monetization working? Is the retention rates, are they working as I want them to be working? To really test out different things to have the first product right, and then understand the different aspects to marketing. We already heard one aspect of this is then to when you're actually present on the platform, so people are driven to that platform, be it the iOS App Store or the Google Play Store, they will encounter every factor that is related to the App Store optimization. So everything that drives conversions directly when people already are in the App Store. Yeah? Do people find my app by searching it? And we had a lot of tips earlier on, so I'm not going to delve right now so deep into it. But App Store optimization on the one hand, and then understand the two other channels, free channels, first of all, through PR and marketing, through corporations, having blogs, write reviews, etc. And then, more importantly, because it's budget intensive, the paid channels. So, coming to that point, the paid channels we already heard about, the burst campaigns. I'm very convinced that it's super important to understand the long-lasting effects of marketing as well, so that you have to not only just promote in one point in time, but actually take into account the long run, and not only get the metrics right, meaning you should optimize towards return on investment. So how do you do this? I mean, there is a lot of ways that you can integrate deeper than just install base. So you shouldn't pay just on an install base, but you should actually track performance, what happens after I drive marketing budget into those installs. Do these people monetize? Do these people engage? Are they viral, etc.?
Sorry, go on. Yep.
Sorry, I made the assumption that everybody knew who App Annie is, and that's probably not correct. Go check out www.appannie.com. We do market intelligence for the app stores.
Great. Okay, right. So we've got three really good people here. It's your chance to ask some questions that you might have on app stores, and here they are to answer. So any table like to kick off with maybe something, an issue or question that you were discussing? If you just put your hands up. Okay, we have one here. Just have the mic. If you just introduce yourself, say who you are, where you're from, what the question is, and we'll address it.
Hello, my name is Ruben. I come from Infobip, and I have one question for the panel regarding let's say, the first launch of the app. Is it really important to do like a spike of marketing at the launch, or would you prefer to do tweaking, like measurement and improving the app for this particular target group, and then engaging with marketing and serious money afterwards once you have the right users, let's say, or the position?
I think if you, as Kai said, if you do a soft launch, so my approach would be get some market data, of course, look at the data, get a theory about what you think is going to happen when you launch. What is your performance going to look like? Soft launch in a small country, a test country that looks like where your other big markets are going to be. And then if that works, make sure you don't have any bugs. Never hit it really hard right after launch, because if you've got a bug, you can easily blow a lot of cash in one day. But if you can, there's some evidence to suggest that bursting right after an update or a release can have more bang for your buck. But I mean, it's a risk, right? It's much less risky to wait for a week or two, let it run, and then hit it.
Yeah, that makes complete sense, and don't jump in the pool until you know there is water in it. Okay, so put your hand and make sure it's the right temperature. But also don't use just your brain. I mean, use also your heart and your listening ability. It's very important to listen to your first users. They will tell you things that number can tell you about how good is your app and how engaging it is and things you should improve. And only your heart will tell you if it's right or not. You have to feel it. If the numbers telling you that there are 10,000 users coming back once a day into your app, it's an indicator, but it's not going to be enough. You have to be convinced as a user, as an owner, that your app is going to be vibrating in the hand of the users. And this you will know only by qualitative discussions with your users. So it's very important that you do that. And my second insight is that don't necessarily think burst, think continuous growth. It's a lot more healthy and probably less expensive to build a pattern to grow your app over and over time, rather than just like having a big spike of users in one day. And there are tons of solutions on the market that can do that, that are extremely expensive and many times useless, because they will last one day and it will be over. Versus trying to really understand what works in terms of user acquisition channels that are paid or non-paid. Many times it can be free, but it requires the time and effort. And do that consistently.
Yeah, just coming straight to the question. So definitely before you get the big marketing bucks in the hand, definitely do the test and the soft launch. So typical markets, like if you're planning to go on the English-speaking markets, a typical soft launch market might be Canada or Australia. That we see that a lot of our advertisers go into, take a small budget around 5 to 10K and test that market and really look at the metrics. That's very, very important to understand this initial data and then tweak so that you get the results that you want to achieve, and only then take the higher budgets into your hands. So I partly agree with what my partner on the panel said, and so burst campaigns should be handled with caution. They might make a lot of sense if your app, for example, has a broad mass appeal. The question with burst campaigns is, in the beginning, you shoot up, you get a lot of attention, might be very useful, but at the same time, the question is, are you really targeting the users that will keep playing the game? I mean, earlier on, there was the presentation earlier on showed the flurry statistics. In month 2, engagement rates dropped below 40% already, from 100%. Now think you have a core game or so and you do a burst campaign, you shoot up, nobody likes the game because maybe they are looking for something more, a much more broader appeal. So these engagement rates will be much, much lower, meaning that the money you spent, you got some visibility, but you don't get ROI from it. Yeah? So it might make sense to burst it, but it depends very much on the appeal of the game, I would argue.
Great. Well, that's an interesting question to start off with. Anyone else on the table's got a question for the panel? Okay, we have one down the front here. Again, if you could say your name and who you are. Yeah.
Thanks. I'm Tom from Appellation. One of the points that was made earlier was about taking time before you launch to check that you've got the quality of your app right. How do you balance making sure that your app is perfect and the quality is high with keeping up with market trends? I mean, we develop games. How do you make sure that you are maintaining pace with the market and the trends that are coming out, but at the same time making sure that your app is the best it can be when you're a fairly small developer with a limited budget?
Anyone want to take that?
Go ahead.
I think there are a couple of things. One is don't do it unless you can do it well. There's no point. If you've got a limited team, don't try to include features just because Kabam is including features. You're not going to keep up with Kabam. You need to find your own path that's going to optimize revenue for you guys. The other thing, of course, is if you're looking for features that are winning, that are resonating with consumers, and that are also pulling in some cash, check out the market data. And this is not all paid data. You can check out free products. There are a lot of free products out there. So when you're looking at what to do next, how to improve your app next, what's your next update, what's your next app, use what have you got in-house, what kind of skill set have you got, what can you build well, and also look out there, what's new, what's coming up in the charts, what's working out there, and put those together to figure out what's going to work best for you guys.
I'm putting my hat of app developer because we're on app first. So first, an app is never perfect and never will be. So no matter what you're going to work on, if you are happy with the work you've done, it means that something is wrong in the timing. You have to, I think it's Friedman from LinkedIn that if you're releasing a good product, it means you're releasing too late. So you have to assume that releasing an imperfect product is part of the game. And number two, a mistake that we've made many times in the very early days of our company, and we see that with other developers, is that you many times build an app thinking what other users are going to like, right? Versus, and this is a mistake. I think the first thing that you have to consider is what are the features that you believe will be right for you as a developer and will make you like the app that you're going to build for others. So my tip is that if you are building an app, make sure you are building it for yourself, that you absolutely love your app as a user for yourself before building it for others. When you feel this is happening, then it's probably the right moment to release, even if it's imperfect. But don't try to imagine too many features that you believe others will like, and that you will not connect to those features or to this experience. And we made this mistake in the early days, and we paid the price for it until we understood that.
Great. Kai, anything to add?
Yes. Yeah, I also agree an app will never be perfect, especially if you're the one developing it. So you will always find some flaws where you want to invest more time into it. I think the question mainly depends on the balance on the platform maturity. Yeah? So if you have like a platform that has a lot of competition in it, the product you have to create must be much, much higher value and much better, because there are so many other products. In the early days of a product, when there is not so many apps out there yet, you can win still through speed. So a casual game that is maybe not so well planned through, but doesn't have any competitors, will still make the market in the beginning. Whereas now, if you look at the Android Google Play Store or the iOS App Store, for example, then the product should definitely be mature, yeah, or be like well developed. And then my hint or my recommendation would be, if you're developing something of a similar genre, so you always have some learnings. For example, I remember a speech by the CEO of King, where he was saying they built in back-end features. Like, for example, everybody I'm sure has played Candy Crush, and when you're at the end of a level and you see, oh, I can master this level, I just need 2 more draws, and then they offer you pay for these draws. So they integrated that feature through the back-end, for example, into all other games, because they already know this is working. And if you are then on a similar genre, these learnings might help you also for the launch of the consequent games.
Great. Well, we have people here, I believe, from King, so if you find them in a coffee break, you can ask them to spill their secrets and other things they do. Hopefully that answers your question, Tom. I think we had a question from the gentleman, it's a bit like question time, in the blue jacket.
Thanks. I'm Ben Waitley from Cat Academy. We teach languages through games where you click on pictures of cats.
There's an app for that.
Nice to get a lot for that. These app discovery platforms, I can see that there's a huge need for them because it's easy to get lost in the App Store. But is their main advantage the fact that they're smaller and therefore you can get seen? Or, I mean, is the logical endpoint the same as the App Store? Like, when you get really big, will you have exactly the same problems as the App Store, or is there something fundamental that's different that I should be thinking about it differently and sort of choosing which discovery channel to use for our app?
Okay, so we're covering that in more detail later on, but I guess, you know, thinking about new other routes into the App Store, including these app discovery apps, you know, what's the view on them?
This is a really interesting question. Is your app paid or free?
It's freemium.
It's freemium. Okay. I think basically what you got to keep in mind here is that Apple doesn't want another app store. We saw what happened to AppGratis a couple of months ago. Their app was pulled because they got, well, this is speculation now, guys. I'm not speaking on behalf of App Annie. Probably got pulled because they got too big. And there are a lot of other little players out there. But so this is never, you go to these app discovery platforms, they're never going to be like the App Store. They are a way to get discovered, but it's never going to be an alternative app store. Basically, it is an alternative to display advertising or search advertising or content marketing. And for indies, for most of us, unless you're a brand, unless you've got a reason to do a lot of display advertising, they are a serious option. And you should probably look at it because your costs will come out probably cheaper. And there is a place for display advertising and there's a place for search advertising. But if cost is an issue for you, you should check out these platforms because they can advertise at a lower cost, basically.
Yeah, so being ourselves an app discovery platform, we can give you some secret tips and insights. Apple has no problem with app discovery apps. The proof is that we are already there, and we had 7 iterations during the past month, and others too. The problem is that Apple has a problem with companies that are guaranteeing results in terms of downloads, in terms of ranks, and that do it in a consistent way, whether they're using incentivized techniques, bots, or whatever. That's the problem. So you should be very careful when you're working with app discovery platforms about the way they work, and not so much the fact that they are app discovery services. So that's point number one. The point number two is that they are one of the channels that are useful to use. The same way you should do, PR and a beautiful app icon and all those marketing and a nice app trailer and all those marketing efforts. Those are one of the channels that you should consider. And again, very, very important, make sure they are respectful of the spirit of the guidelines of the App Store. Many are not. The majority are not. Okay, they either do incentivized download, or they guarantee results, or they game the charts, etc., etc., etc. So you need to be careful about that. And number three, I think it's a lot of try and fail. Okay, so we've been working with 500 developers today, something like that. And not everything has worked. Well, we failed working with a lot of developers because we are either overestimated the impact that we could have for them, or because it was inadequate in terms of audience. The good news is that you can do a lot of trials before you scale that. So it's important that if you do that, and it's true for, by the way, app discovery and other things that you can do in terms of user acquisition, measure. Measure, see what works, what doesn't, if it makes sense for your app, and if this story is right for you. It might work with us, it might not work with us, but you have to try.
Okay. Kai, you also run app discovery apps at APPLIFT, right?
Yeah, we work with app discovery apps. Right. So of our incubator group, our sister company is also an app discovery app. In general, I think the question is again, do I find the right users in that particular channel? Yeah, that's always at the end of the day. If you look at the evolution of the past years, so what happened in the first wave. Basically, everybody was heading towards app discovery apps, even without being able to track and paying lump sums. Yeah? Here is 25K, please boost me. I don't know how many installs I got, but I get boosted. Then the second wave came where these were linked to CPIs, and so you would pay per every install. And now, the shift is, and where the whole market needs to head is, do I get the right users? So I pay per CPI, again, like what we do with our partners, for example, is we sit down and we define certain KPIs in terms of engagement. So how is, like, for example, 7-day retention rate or 3-day retention rate? In terms of virality, how many users share it? How many connect via Facebook? And in terms of monetization, what's at the end of the day, how much money do I get out? So if you're able to track this, then this will actually make the spend worthwhile, and it's not then about so much getting discovered, but it's about getting discovered by the right user who will bring the value to you most and will have a positive effect on your marketing spend. And ROI positive.
Okay. We're going to be covering app discovery apps as well, a bit more after lunch. Has anyone got a question specifically relating to app stores? Diego there, yeah.
Hi, I'm Diego from Jam. Yeah, going back to the App Store tips subject, there's been a lot of talk about iOS, and you guys haven't talked a lot about Android. And I'd like to know, I mean, it's pretty clear now that to get up the rankings in iOS, it's a combination of download velocity, let's say, and getting a lot of installs quickly. On Android, I think, and on Google Play, that's not that clear. Can you share what tips on what you've seen in some of your advertisers on what things have got them to the rankings on the Google stores?
Okay, let's mix it up. We'll start with Kaya.
I think if I ultimately knew the secret of the algorithm, I wouldn't be sitting right here. Yeah. But I mean, what we know, and I think it is common knowledge, is that you can't just by the downloads drive up in the rankings. What Google Play also measures, for example, is the uninstall rates. So afterwards, so meaning like if you buy tons of in-send traffic, for example, or if again not quality traffic, then the install rates will affect the ranking. Yeah. but I don't have like really deep knowledge into the algorithm itself.
Can I jump in?
Yes. Well,
I absolutely agree, and I think you guys have been talking a lot about the trend moving from getting your CPI down, getting your CPC down, over to CPA, and what is your LTV, and I think that's really key. We're all here to make money at the end of the day, so rather than paying attention to, you're never going to game Google, right? So rather than paying attention to getting up at the charts, look at how are you going to maximize return on your advertising investment. And the other thing is, I would consider exploring alternative Android app stores as well, because you can the search algorithms are different, the ranking algorithms are different, and the little guys are going to be a little bit more willing to play ball with you in terms of features and stuff like that.
So two elements on rankings. The first one is that it's like the Coca-Cola recipe. Everyone knows what's in it, but no one knows in which proportion. So it's in Fort Knox, and no one can get in Fort Knox. Well, it doesn't matter. No one really knows. And number two things, it doesn't matter. Even if you knew, no matter how good your app is, you will not stay in the ranks, even if you get there. So it doesn't matter. So forget about getting in the ranks. Just grow really consistently, and you'll be fine.